So it talks about how in the first breeding bird atlas they had 14 blocks in the Catskills, and the second one 17. So there's definitely an expansion of them according to this breeding bird atlas, but we need to continue with that, and they are actually currently working on the third atlas right now. But none of that was like quoted in
Yeah.
the informal study. And so we take the information that the students this summer gathered, and we gather that again next year and the year after, and we begin to put science in this, and we can find out if the Bicknell's thrush is actually doing okay in the Catskills, expanding in the Catskills, or lessening in the Catskills, you know?
And it's not just the small bushwhacking regions that these Bicknell thrush are breeding. It's actually, where the trails are, up in Sugarloaf, Indian Head, anywhere there's balsams is where the Bicknell thrush thrive.
The bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast.
All right, so welcome to episode 111 of Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast. So tonight we are having a talk with Laurie, and she is going to talk about informal trails that we have here in the Catskills. So herd paths, we talked about this before a little bit. We haven't really gone in depth about it, and Laurie and I are going to go in depth about the informal trails, aka herd paths, that we have here in the Catskills. That is a big discussion in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I would say, maybe 4 years, right?
Yeah, I think 2019 was their first initial study.
Yeah, and then it hit and it broke it out because of COVID and stuff like that. So they went a little bit more in depth. So we're going to go in depth on our discussion, and Laurie brings some great information to the table, and it really opened my eyes, and hopefully, it'll open a lot of people's eyes about different things. So that out of the way. So welcome to episode 111. Laurie's back again. I'm glad to have her back. It's always a welcome to have her back. She's this is number 3, right? Number 3 or 4?
Yeah, probably 4, actually, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, see? So she's been on here with the fire tower, with the Bramley Mountain Fire Tower, with this one, and you kind of did a brief appearance with Tom's book as well.
Yes.
See, exactly. So many. Nice.
Yeah.
So some crazy events happening here in the New York State in the past week or so. Not just only in the Catskills, but all around New York State. So one incident that happened was missing upstate New York kid found hurt after exhausting search. So New York State officials searched for a missing teen who had disappeared up in, it looks like, Belmont in Allegheny County. They received a 911 call, and the troopers and canines unit, drone unit, and Allegheny Sheriff's Unit were dispatched to Belfast. The child's name wasn't released, of course, 13 years old. And no reason why this person or this child was missing or went missing, but he was found 8 miles from home. That's a significant amount of distance as well. Yeah. 12 hours they searched for him, and the teen was wearing jeans, a winter coat, and a hat, but only rubber clogs on his feet. Man. I'm not gonna, I wish not to say anything about millennials, but that's very millennial of that person.
Wow.
I mean, Leno or whatever it is. I don't, but It's unclear for now why he went missing. So why the teen went missing, sorry, not he, but found safe 12 hours after the search. And looking at these pictures, I don't know if you did you look at the link I sent you, Lori?
No, I did not. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. No, the link in Belfast, I'm trying to think of what Belfast is. So that looks like
Oh,
I'm trying to.
Allegheny County, so that's like west of Binghamton, down along the southern
Oh, no way.
border.
All right. So like that, like this area kind of looked a little like with the pictures, looked a little like craggy, a lot of big
Hmm.
rocks and stuff like that. So I was thinking it's probably kind of like Pennsylvania type, where just big rocks, annoying and stuff like that. So uh,
Yeah,
middle of nowhere. So 13-year-old was found alive. So
thank goodness.
awesome job by the troopers and the Rangers and anybody else who was involved. It's great to hear that. It was January 29th. So
Wow.
12-hour search. What an awesome news report to hear, just that it was found search. And then another one that I heard about, this was actually like all over the internet now. And a heat-seeking drone found a man who had fallen through the frozen ice in a marsh in upstate New York. So now I looked over this. I luckily I saw this just a little while ago. This happened on February 1st, so it was 5 days ago. And definitely New York State DEC Rangers had looked for this person. So this was 3 miles wildlife and management area up above Syracuse. So it's a little bit west of Syracuse in the northwest. And the subject was walking along a marshy area in hip waders when he fell through the ice. And they called 911. Luckily, the person called 911. And while it was impossible to spot the man through fallen snow, the Oswego County Sheriff's Office lended their drone, who had a heat-seeking kind of device on it. And they had, I'm going to have to take picture of this, Lori, because it's really cool because it was snowing out. They couldn't see that, like you can't see the subject. No, let me actually let me share the screen with you because this is actually pretty phenomenal. And you could, once again, sorry. So share screen. So check this out. Now let me know when you see that.
Oh, wow.
So that's what they looked at. But if you go up a little bit further, that's what they saw,
Wow.
right?
Wow. There's some modern technology usage that is amazing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
this person had fallen through the ice in a marsh area. And we've had, up near us, Lori, we had a recent recovery up here,
Yes.
and it was very unfortunate that a person passed away, falling through the ice. And once down in there, it's your lower body starts to get cold and you get super weak. A lot of people don't know how aggressive hypothermia is, and it
Yeah.
happens like that. It happens in an instant, and you
Yeah.
you start just I can't say the word dying, but everything starts stopping
Mhm.
at a very fast rate. People, I remember watching for search and rescue, watching a training on hypothermia, and I forgot how many. The guy fell into the lake, and they had all search and rescue teams around him up in Canada. They were ready for everything, but they wanted to see how aggressive this the hypothermia went. And I believe they said in like 8 or 9 minutes, the guy started getting a little discombobulated, stopped asking
Yeah.
questions, like answering, they would ask him questions of
Right.
what day it is. And then all of a sudden, like after 15 minutes, like he was almost totally out of it and they had to pull him out. 15
Yeah.
minutes. Like
Wow.
that's how crazy it
Wow.
could be.
That incident at Basswood Pond was really sad and really lucky that the forest ranger who spends so much time in the water was okay as well.
Yeah. And that forest ranger, wow, we gotta get together with him, Lori. Like that's just absolute heroic of him to go out there,
Yeah.
and the training, once again, the training that they go through. And
Yes.
I've seen this in the past week that the Rangers report of the training that they have been doing because of this incident. So they once again, you get this happened, and all of a sudden, like people realize, like, oh man, this is a good time to go through this training again, and they put every region in New York State on that training again because of this incident, because you lost one person, of course, but that ranger,
Yeah.
what a phenomenal job. And this little instance right here,
Yeah.
you know, short 55 minutes it took them for put the drone up in the air, even when it was snowing, and they found this person. And once again, in this report, they talk about the Edmonston incident in Basswood Pond, and I guarantee this sort of incident kind of like clicked in the Rangers' mind, like, oh, we don't have much time to do this.
Yeah.
Get as aggressive as we can with this. So winter is crazy. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize that.
Yeah. Very little room for error.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome job once again by the Rangers and whoever was involved up in that area, getting this man involved in getting this help and getting them rescued.
Yeah.
So another weird thing, I know the DEC posted this, was a really weird incident. So upstate New York man gets caught red-handed for spray painting squirrels bright red. Did you hear about this, Laurie?
I did see this one.
What the hell is this? Like, I saw this and I was just like, this got to be a joke. Nope. Putnam
No.
County. So that's
Yeah.
is that south, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
south of us. So that's south
Yeah.
of the Catskill, of
Mhm.
course. Always down there. They always have the wackos. So this guy apparently trapped squirrels, spray painted them red, and released them in the park for unknown reasons. Unknown reasons. And I'm Eco, which is the New York State Eco observation. They do stuff with helping out the wildlife in the whole New York State area, and they observed this and they were watching this, and all of a sudden they caught this guy doing this. So they ticketed the man for violations related to trapping and transporting the liberating wildlife. No, that's it, a ticket. And he said he was keeping track of those returning to his yard and causing his dogs to bark.
Yes.
How absolutely pathetic is that?
Absolutely. I've never heard of anything like that. Never.
Exactly. And that's the one thing I was just like, this has got to be like a joke. Like this is something you see. I'm trying to think on like Jerry Springer or something like that. Like it's just very, very odd.
Yeah.
Of why you would trap a squirrel. Oh, I mean, he said they was making his dogs bark. Number one, you're not located in deep city of New York City. There's going to be squirrels, chipmunks, rabbits all over the place. Oh, man, I thought we were a weird county, but I guess not.
No.
Exactly. So Otsego County is a little messed up, but this takes the, you start moving down south into the Hudson, and I guess they have some really weird stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of closing the curtains so the dog couldn't see the squirrel.
Or not having them outside 24/7.
Something.
Yeah. And only a ticket. Like, come on. Like, hopefully this doesn't go like further with the squirrels. I got to admit, squirrels can be annoying at times. But
Sure.
like I would never spray paint them red and like kind of like track them. Like that. Oh, there's another red one. I don't understand.
No, I cannot understand that.
Out of control. So today also the DEC released their of course their Forest Rangers Recon Review. Not a lot of stuff. Of course, Laurie, you probably heard, and a lot of people probably heard of what happened recently up at Bassett Medical Center up in Cooperstown.
Yes.
That was a really odd incident because January 28th is when the guy was reported missing. He apparently had like sneaked out of getting surgery for his appendix. Was it his appendix?
Yes, I think that's what I read. Mhm.
Yeah, apparently he like went out of surgery for his appendix, and they didn't conduct the search till February 2nd. So it was very odd. I don't know the whole situation, but they conducted a search on February 2nd, which was 4 days ago from this recording, and they found him deceased along the Susquehanna River, which is right back behind of the Bassick Medical Center. I was there for that today to see my mom, who's doing very well, by the way. Mom, glad you're doing well with your hip surgery. So 2 rangers joined the search efforts, and the following day, 2 additional rangers helped conduct a linear searches along the roads and areas with reported sightings. Now, it's if you're familiar with Cooperstown, you'll know to the north of Bassett is all residential stuff. To the south is a little bit more wide open, more forest, more open plains and stuff like that. But it also has a Susquehanna River. And to be honest, if I were conducting a search, that would be the first area, because that would be the first area of hazardous that I would search, because that's the first area that you
Good
would
point.
see someone fall in and possibly die. So it's just a very odd situation. I don't know what your thoughts on that was.
Yes, I found it to be very odd too. I didn't understand that lapse in time either. That was strange because it was extremely cold.
Yeah.
And to me, that means, you would go even faster
Yep.
to look, not hesitate. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very flabbergasted. A lot of people helped out online with this. Once again, the word of mouth, the power of the social media is
Yes.
insane, that so many people helped out with conducting searches, spottings and stuff like that. But it also went crazy because, like, oh, I saw a man that went over here. Oh, I saw a man that went over here. This guy was, it just went crazy. If you're in the area, you kind of know the situation. But
Mhm.
once again, unfortunately, it was a recovery and not a rescue. So
Yes. Yes.
but so down we had a little incident down here in Hunter on February 3rd, so 3 days ago, which was Saturday. So at 5:45 p.m., Rangers Alwyn and Seeley responded to a call for a hiker who fell 12 feet off on the escarpment trail. Rangers and local fire departments and EMS reached the 51-year-old from Ulster Park less than a quarter of a mile from the trailhead. So that's not that far. So I'm guessing it's got to be somewhere over in the Catterskill Falls area, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And icy, really icy.
Yep. So the hiker had mild hypothermia and pain to her back, shoulder, and hip, and rescue crews carried the patient to the ambulance. Resources were cleared by 7:45. So there was a 2-hour operation. So
Mhm.
I'm guessing that's a good old Catterskill Falls kind of thing.
Yeah. We were out there a couple of weeks ago, and the ice is just so incredible in that area, particularly with the kind of conditions we've had. And even if you have some kind of traction device on your feet, if it's not super super sharp, you can get in trouble. And I'm not just talking the falls, but any of those little ledge rocks, and Mary's Glen out through there, all those little places out through there are have a tendency to weep water, and then it's going to freeze. If
Yeah.
you step on it, you're going to slide.
Yeah. And like you said, you got to have aggressive stuff, especially,
Yeah.
I know you have, and I've been down through Catterskill Falls when it's ice, and you take the most precautious steps that you could ever take down those steps.
Yeah.
And I am just,
Or just the opposite. You really step like you mean it.
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't become steps anymore. It becomes almost like a slip and slide.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, in the Forest Rangers report, or the Catskill Trails report for last weekend, I actually have it written down here, what they wrote. Expect the trails in the Catterskill Falls area to be very icy. Hikers should use extreme caution, especially on icy stone staircases and other rock surfaces. It is well known to be icy.
Yeah. And that's, once again, the power of social media. I wish all these organizations would come together and share this stuff, because how many people do you think went down there with yak tracks or
Or nothing. When we
nothing?
were there a couple of weeks ago, we had our grandson with us, and we had traction devices, all three of us, and we passed a group of 5 or 6 people, including a child in that group, and then we kind of ended up, they came to the viewing platform at the same time as we did, and one person had a really nice camera, and they said that they were there to do engagement pictures. And their plan was to go down to the base of the falls from there. They didn't want to take them up there on the viewing platform. And we said, do you have traction devices? Oh, no. So we suggested they went into town to see if they could purchase or rent. And eventually later on, we saw them on another trail there, and they were heading
No,
to the bottom. And Tom, quite frankly, he said, I hope you make it to the wedding.
Right.
They were determined that was where they wanted their engagement photos.
And yeah,
It just didn't seem wise. There was no traction devices to be seen.
yeah. And we have stewards out there in the summer, of course. But I mean, that's to gain educational awareness and stuff.
Mhm.
But the winter is definitely the time to be like, listen, like, you shouldn't do this. Like, you might die. Your 5-year-old kid is gonna fall, and he's not gonna be, able to grab onto anything like we would with trees and stuff.
Yeah,
So it's definitely a whole nother beast.
it is.
And
It
I'm
is.
glad that we have people like you who are on the trail, like, hey man, maybe you should go into Tannersville and get something, some traction devices from
Yeah.
Camp Catskill or something like that.
Exactly. We even told them the name of a store to go to, It told them whereabouts it was on Main Street, but
Yeah.
you can't fix stupid. Sorry.
You can't, and it's tough, and the power, the social media can be so awesome but so horrible at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And you think that we could use this to our advantage, especially, I love the DEC. I work with the DEC, you work with the DEC,
Oh
and
yeah.
they're making these memes and these jokes and stuff like that. But you definitely got to reach out to the safety, especially with traction devices, because it's deadly. It's deadly. Have we seen before? We've always seen it before. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I sort of feel like sometimes with social media and other resources that we have, it's almost like the more opportunities we have to connect electronically, we're losing the personal touch, and the personal touch maybe is that piece that will get through to people. I don't know. I wonder sometimes, though. Well, of course, with all my work stewarding, I get that opportunity to do that, and I do think that really makes an impact.
it does. Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword. I always say that.
Yeah.
It's so crazy with your work with your other organizations that you do. You see it all the time, and it can be absolutely phenomenal, as we've seen with Bramley Mountain. But with other organizations, with the 3500 Club and Catterskill Falls and stuff like that, it doesn't just reach as far as it should. And
I think we need to use them all. All, because one person is going to be a learner who does learn very, very well through that electronic medium. But another might not be, they might want that personal touch. So we're all different.
Crazy. Absolutely. Winter is such a beast. Let's just say that.
It can be.
As we know, but it can be beautiful. We'll talk about that later, though. Laurie went up Friday in Balsam Cap today, and I went up Brantley, so we'll talk about that later. So thank you to the monthly supporters, Darren White, Vicky Ferreira, John Comiskey, Jim C., Michael Bongner, David Mead, Denise Weiss, Joseph Hayda, and Beth Anderson. Two new people on the monthly supporters. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Also, check out Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly from Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondacks, and the White Mountains. She is also an officiant for getting married, but a licensed guide. And she is also a story maker. Molly won't give you just photos, she'll give you memories that will last forever. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, have you ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking, or even just brush up on your old skills in the backcountry? Check out Trailbound Project, a hiking and backpacking school. Scott and Joe from the New Jersey Search and Rescue Team have amazing backgrounds in wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, and the Mountain Rescue Association. And they are here to help you teach old and new skills of hiking and backpacking. You teach anything from first aid, map and compass, bushwhacking, and many other skills that could help you or others while out in the trail. Check them out on their website and all social media platforms. So also, once again, welcome Joseph and Beth to the membership program. I want to just say that this membership and the sponsorship doesn't go straight to me. It goes actually into more of the podcast, help paying for expenses, different things that keeps this kind of going as well. And also, I don't benefit really from this. I pay for all the expensive, like the Zoom, the recordings, the different apps that I need and features and stuff like that. So it doesn't all go for profit. And I'm going to make a donation soon to probably the Bramley Mountain Fire Tower because they definitely deserve it. I've thought about this a long and hard. So soon I'll be making a donation towards the Bramley Mountain because they deserve it. And seeing that view again today was, oh God, that's going to be phenomenal. I picked out more peaks, a little bit more peaks that I could see. So this is going to be, Laurie, I can't wait to talk. I can't.
Yeah, I know.
I know. So once again, thank you, Joseph and Beth, for being new sponsors and membership to the thing. So Laurie, what are you drinking?
Oh, I have West Hills Stout. It's called Fresh Coat.
Oh, Fresh Coat.
Really good.
Nice. Did you get that microbrew yet? Have you had that yet?
Which one?
It's there. They have like a brew out called like I think it's called like microbrew or something like that, where it was about the Hudson Valley weather. They did like a talk about they did a little collaboration with Westkill Brewing about their microclimates in the Westkill area, in the Catskills.
No, I did not.
Okay, I was wondering if you had that tonight. So
No,
give me 1 sec. I'm going to look it up.
we were there on Saturday after a 3,500 club hike to Westkill, and I did like their new Mountain Life Pale Ale. That was really good.
Oh, nice. They have a new one.
Yeah, that was very tasty. But I really like this. Is my dessert beer.
Nice. You're later in the night beer, right?
Yes, it is. It's low alcohol, but it's really, and it's not super heavy, but it is nice and chocolatey and roasty and really good.
I'm not a beer guy, but I might try that. So excellent. Yeah, this is what the one that they released from the Hudson Valley weather was called Microclimate.
No, haven't
It's
had
very
it.
rare. Like I said, it was one of those kind of like seasonal items that they
Yeah,
had. So
limited amount probably.
yeah, kind of like the thrush one.
Yeah.
But I'm just having a good old awestruck blackberry.
Nice.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I love that
we
stuff.
were we also stopped with we had friends from out of town here, and we stopped at Wayside Cider over in Andes. She really found a great cider that she liked over there. I'm not a huge cider fan, but
Well, good. Yeah, I've been over there once, but it was like kind of really quick. So I gotta check out Wayside Cider again.
yeah, it's really nice atmosphere over there, and they're nice supporters for Bramley Mountain Fire Tower too.
They better be, because you can probably see Bramley Mountain from there.
Almost, it's going to be close.
It's gonna be close, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of it's gonna be close. Previous hikes. You recently went up. I mean, you could talk about last week's expedition and today's too as well.
Yeah, so we always try to get out a couple of times a week. Last week, we had planned something else, but then we got that snow, and we were all ready to go hiking and go early in the morning so that we could break trail. And And then we had a family matter that came up for the afternoon. So we were like, oh, well, we can't go do what we wanted to do. And under headlamp, we went up Bramley.
Nice.
And it was fantastic. And the snow was just draped down on all the trees. And then there was this frozen fog, ice crystals over top of the snow on every branch. I mean, it was just exquisite. And we were home by a little after 9.
Nice.
So that was one thing we did last week. We also we led a hike to Balsam and then a hike to Westkill the last 2 Saturdays for the 3,500 Club. Both of those were hikes. So I believe we had 11, counting Tom and I on both hikes, and
Nice.
really nice groups of people. The Balsam hike was particularly geared toward beginners, and that was pre-snow. So we really never had to use our snowshoes on that hike, but we're on snowshoes for Westkill last weekend. And then today we headed up for Balsam Cap. Tom has a particular list he's working on, and Balsam Cap in February was on that list. And we thought about doing Friday as well, but we actually decided not to while we were up there. It was a nice day. We could have, but we headed home.
Hey, I don't blame you, because sometimes that little jaunt up Friday could be exhausting.
It can.
It's still, and Balsam Cap has its own beauty. And was there still like that the frost covered on the tops of the balsams?
There was not. No,
Good.
there was some snow that was still hanging on the branches and still falling off. There were a few places where there were some snow bombs falling, but mostly it stayed cold enough that we didn't have too much of that happening. And the snow underfoot stayed really nice too, so it never got sticky on the snowshoes or anything.
Oh, nice. Good trenches.
Yes. And
Wow.
and the other thing that was really stunning up there is that the air is so dry right now. There's just no yuck in the air, no humidity, no smog. And so the views they're just so crisp out there today. It was just amazing as far as that goes.
And it's been like that since like Friday. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many people have been out in the Catskills, and I love it. And I see all this, and bringing me back, when I first started hiking in 2015. I mean, you were way before that. So a lot of post holing was absolute madness. And
Yeah.
I got to admit, because of social media, I think it's gotten like 200,000% better.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
post holes only happen on the popular trails like Giant Ledge,
Mhm.
and like even Slide is not that bad, this
Mhm.
year. I've heard it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, same here.
and that's I think that's phenomenal. Once again, a great thing for social media, because people are realizing that snowshoes want to benefit the hike, and also make the hike better and make it better for others. So you got
Yeah.
A, B, and C. And so once again, you said you put it on like halfway.
Today, do you know if I say where the Ox Road is? Do you know
That's
where
where it
that
kind of
is?
breaks off to the left.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Right about there was where we put the snowshoes on. The snow was pretty well. As a matter of fact, there was bare ground at the very beginning.
Oh, wow.
So we were just bare booting, but the snow was of a consistent nature by the time we got up to there. So we put the snowshoes on.
Nice.
Yeah.
So today, my plan was to grab. So to be honest, I'm going to be 100% honest. A lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, shame, shame." I'm not a winter 35er yet.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that
Uh-huh.
funny? I've done so many Winter Peaks repeaters that I'm
Yes.
not a 35er, because I've helped a lot of people which want to go up Slide or Balsam Cap or Balsam and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I hike a lot in the winter, but I just don't do random hikes. Everybody wants me to go on Sunday with them to
Mhm.
one of their 3,500. So
Yeah.
I was gonna go towards my 3,500 winter. Oh, excuse me. I was gonna do Twin and Indian Head, but unfortunately my mom had her hip broken. So crazy little incident is my nephew has a little, well, not a little dog, a puppy that has just got so much energy. And apparently she was walking in to see my sister, and the dog kind of pushed up against her. She lost her balance and
Oh,
cracked her hip. So
oh,
she was in Bassett, and she got surgery last night. So we're all waiting on that phone call and stuff. And I didn't want to go out and see her. So
be too far away.
yeah, I didn't want to be too far away. So going down to
Mhm.
Tannersville and back, plus doing it, had twin is a good amount of time. So I
Yeah.
did. I went off and I did Bramley, which I actually went up like a quarter of the way up the quarry trail, and then I
Okay.
started bushwhacking right
Uh-huh.
where that stone fence, like the stone fence meets. And I started
Hmm.
bushwhacking, and I found some pretty interesting stuff. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
Your
I
pictures.
love, and just I just wanted a whole different experience. I gotta admit, this is like my like I got it 10th time up Bramley, and it never gets old. And
No.
just that view now is absolutely phenomenal. And I went down a little bit further, and I have my little, it's called a viewfinder app, and you can see
Hmm.
all the peaks that it shows. And if I moved a little bit to this side, I could see, North Dome and
Hmm.
Cheryl, whatever you want to say,
Hmm.
whatever you want to
Hmm.
say. Moved a little bit this way, you could see Westkill. So I'm like, what the hell is this gonna do when you bring an
When
80
you're
foot?
80 feet. Yeah. Yeah. I
Exactly.
can't wait. I cannot wait.
I mean, were you ever up there when it was constructed before?
If I was, I don't recall.
Okay.
I do have a kind of an interesting story about my mom being up there, though, when Quee Akins was the observer up there, and her two sons, Bill and Alan, were up there at the tower while she was working. They were up there, and my mom came up as a visitor, but my mom was too scared to go up the tower. And the two boys talked my mother into going up the tower very carefully with lots of support. Just come up to this landing and then just come up to this. And they got my mom up that tower. And of course, later in life, she was married to an observer and spent lots of time in a tower. And a couple of years ago, was able to reconnect mom with Bill Aiken. And they really enjoyed their time together and reminiscing. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. I gotta admit, this is gonna be one of the most fantastic views in the Catskills because it's just gonna show so much.
Yeah.
And I love Balsam Lake, and I love Hunter, but this is gonna be just something else. I don't know. Maybe it could be because it's 30 minutes away from me, but
Oh, yeah. Sure.
but a lot of people are gonna love this view,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be great. And I'm so happy you're involved with this because once again, it's just it brings a whole different light up to the western part of the Catskills.
Hmm.
And can't wait. I can't wait. It's a beautiful day. It started out with I put spikes on immediately because I was just like, you never know.
Hmm.
And even with I gotta admit, I was post holing a little bit further up. There was about a foot of snow, but nobody would follow my tracks at all. And I found, I don't know, you saw those Karens.
Yeah.
I'm curious of what you think of
Mhm.
those. Are those I'm pretty sure those are old white man Karens that just threw rocks on top of there.
Yeah. When Dr. Mike Kudish always says, when the early settlers came, they came from different places, and some people would just clear the land by throwing rocks someplace, but other people cleared the land very thoughtfully, built a rock stone fence wall with those stones. They weren't going to waste anything. And then other people were probably feeling a little artistic, and so they built a really nice stone stack. But it did speak to me as, yeah, probably European settlers in the area.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then, you know, halfway up in the mountain, I saw a one-way sign,
Yeah,
which was
that was bizarre.
that was so cool because there's so many like old logging roads up there that,
Yes.
there's got to be something funny like that. And I saw that.
Yep.
So once again, Bramley Mountain, fantastic hike, please, anybody get up there. Also donate to Bramley Mountain. I'll be donating soon. So beautiful time. So Laurie, we're going to go over some weather real quick. Check out. So this whole week until it says, Friday, there's going to be rain showers, but in our area, it's supposed to warm up. So I have a feeling this weekend is going to be absolutely crappy for any hiker who is thinking about getting up there, because it's going to be in the mid 40s from Friday to Sunday. So that means all that 10 inches, 12 inches, or whatever you had of snow is going to be slush, and it's going to be absolutely horrible. So you're going to have to bring anything and everything with you, whether it's snowshoes to pack down the trail that's been post holed, or just spikes to go over the trail that's frozen. But it's going to be an absolute mess this weekend. So,
yeah, I think so.
yeah, and that's why I was kind of bummed, because I wanted to get out to Indian Head when it was winter, like full on winter. I saw everybody's pictures and I was like, oh my God, this is like a dream. That you always want to do this. And then like you said, the stuff is already melted off. The sun is so beating down on the trees that it's just melting the stuff off. It's not doing damage to the trails, but it's melting that off of the trees. And that's kind of the experience I wanted again. I haven't had that in a while. We haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah. Well, we still got a few weeks of winter left.
We do. Looking forward to it. So, also volunteer, once again, 3500 Club, Catskill Trail Club, Catskill Mountains Club, Visitor Center. They're all making up their stuff for the fall, or the spring, summer, and fall. Jeez, getting a little ahead of myself. And also Bramley Mountain is probably going to have some stewards. So if you want to volunteer, get a hold of them. Also, if you want stickers, get a hold of me. You got brand new stickers, different logo, awesome logo. Get a hold of me or go to Camp Catskill in Tannersville. All right. So we're already 44 minutes into it. I was going to do some history, but we're going to skip that tonight.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
We're going to talk about some history stuff too. So
we
affects the
definitely
forest.
are. So I'm going to go over some sponsors and then we'll get right into it. All right.
Okay.
Is it time for some new gear hiking in the Catskills? Say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs: footwear, socks, moisture wicking shirts, freeze dried meals, snowshoes, and spikes, Catskill merchandise, and more. They have all the essentials for your hiking needs. Located in Tannersville and online, check out Camp Catskill. If you want free stickers, stop here as well. Also, if you're ready to hit the trails, make sure you take the scenic route. Scenic route guidance are here to help you with your goals, big or small, like Colden or Rocky or North Dome or Skylight. Check out Scenic Route Guiding Gear Rentals on Instagram and Facebook for more information. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code word Mountain Lion. Also, check out Another Summit, a non-profit program that leads outdoor adventures for veterans and first responders for free. Activities like walking or hiking, or even backpacking and paddling trip. Check out anothersummit.org for more information and dates for their future events. I just had them on here for episode 109. It was a fantastic time. So let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
So tonight I have my friend, and I don't even know, it's like inspirational person, Laurie, on here, and she is going to talk about our informal trails that we have in near Catskill. So informal trails, aka herd paths that we call it, but the professional people seem to call them informal trails, but we call them herd paths. Very big topic that we've had here in the past, I don't know, I would have to say 5 years here in the Catskills. And, it's been a big topic that we have gotten information, misinformation, back and forth here and there. My friend Matt Smith and I talked about it. He's been a big, long time hiker in the Catskills. We had a great discussion about it. I wish we could have went further, but that wasn't the topic we had that night. So we had to go into the topic that he got. So Laurie wanted to talk about this, and she has done some awesome research, and it's very eye-opening. So welcome to the show, Laurie. We're going to talk about informal trails. So good to see you again.
All right. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
I just do want to say that, I'm here to talk about those trails as a Catskill native and an outdoor recreationist, and that I'm not sharing views that may represent any of the organizations that I love to volunteer for, and those are numerous. So Thanks for having me as just Laurie, a Catskill outdoor recreationist.
Yeah, glad to have you here. And I'm excited to talk about this because I've been itching to talk about this for a while. I've been trying to look for I've got a hold of DEC about this. We had this discussion with the unit or VUM
Yes.
down and we've had I've had discussion with them and they just haven't gotten back to me. I don't know why. Of course, DEC, you got to cross 25,000 bridges to get something there. But Jeff, I thank Jeff. Jeff Walker is awesome. He's got me with very many rangers, and that has been fantastic. So Jeff, if you're listening, you are the best. Get a hold of me if you want to talk about something. But Laurie's here to talk about informal trails. So Laurie, a little bit of background about yourself. You have amazing history in the Catskills. So please tell it.
So I'm a Catskill native, born in Margaretville, and my dad was the observer at Balsam Lake Fire Tower. I graduated from Margaretville School and then SUNY Delhi. So I've not ever really gone too far away from the Catskills, and because of the nature of my dad's job and what he loved to do, which was to be in the outdoors. I just was always in his back pocket. If he was out in the woods, perhaps to do some scouting for deer hunting, I was with him. If he was fishing, I was with him. And I was never told I couldn't go. There were never any barriers. As an adult, I decided to tackle the 3,500 Club Peaks. Once I finished that, I really fell in love with that opportunity of being out in the woods, hiking and climbing mountains. And I just kept doing that. So eventually climbed the 46 in the Adirondacks. When I met Tom and we got married, we went back and we did the 46 together. We did the 35s together. And then we went and did the Northeast 115, and then we went back and did them all in winter. And we've done some state high pointing. I think we have 38 state high points.
Wow.
So we do a lot of wandering in the outdoors. And I not only do I do that hiking, but I also really enjoy the volunteer opportunities that we have. So I've been involved with the 3,500 Club in terms of everything from litter pickup to trail maintenance to organized lean-to projects. Was the secretary of the club for a number of years. I've been a trail maintainer and a lean-to maintainer with the Trail Conference up in the Adirondacks. Started the Trailhead Steward program, was one of many. I shouldn't say I did by any means. That started the Trailhead Steward program up there. I enjoy the stewarding. I work up there with the trail crew. We do lots of intensive trail work up there. We do we build bridges.
Yeah.
We do all kinds of things. Lean-tos, lots of lean-to work. And then I am also, because of my connection to Balsam Lake Fire Tower, I've been involved there for many, many years. There is a nationwide organization called the Forest Fire Lookout Association that works to preserve towers throughout the United States, and I got very involved with that. So I've been the state director for that for a number of years. So lots of stuff.
I'm sorry to say, but Laurie is like the goddess of volunteer organization in the Catskills.
No.
You should be like printed on everything and just be like, I'm sorry. That's just, the background is absolutely insane and awesome. Introduced to the Catskills at birth, basically.
Yeah.
And then stuck with this place ever since. And
Yep.
have you ever gotten bored of this place?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And do you, I don't, I talked about this with Tara on my last episode. And do you feel a deeper connection like with the Catskills than any other place? Is that you? Or is,
Oh, I think so. Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's just,
Absolutely.
and it feels like Tara said that there's something about the people that come here, that just, they feel more of a connection to the forest and to the woods and stuff like that. They're friendlier. they're here out here for the experience and not just to cross off another list.
Mhm.
That's just not me, right? Like it's not
Mhm.
me and her, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And the joy you must see when volunteering. I volunteer as well, search and rescue. I've done trailhead, volunteering and stuff like that. The joy I see in volunteering and giving people good information and different information is just
Mhm.
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you go home feeling just as wonderful as you do having reached a hiking goal of your own. When you've had a chance to hang out with 100 strangers for just a few minutes, but an opportunity to help them with their day and to help that forest that they're going to be recreating in as well, because you give them information about how to take care of it.
Right. It's just another amazing feeling that you can get. So volunteer.
Yes, volunteer, absolutely.
So with you, Laurie, being introduced to the Catskills, basically at birth, how did you see the informal trails, aka herd paths, when you were younger? When were you introduced to the 3500 Club?
Not until I was an adult, actually.
Okay.
Before I knew that the club existed, but I didn't become involved until I was an adult. My boys were out of school, and then I was worried about empty nest, and that's when I stepped into the club. And
And I'm guessing that was absolutely 100%, 100,000% bushwhacking.
oh yes, back then it sure was.
When did you become a 3500 Club member?
2001.
Oh my God. So
Mhm.
like I
Yeah.
talk about it in like I was 2017. 2015 when I did Rusk, I was just like complete bushwhack. But that
Oh yeah.
2001, oh my God. Did they
Mhm.
even have parking areas for these places?
Yes.
Right? Like I was
Yeah.
thinking it was
But
like,
they might have
wow,
changed since then.
correct. But like as we progressed, my first bushwhack was Rusk and it was a complete bushwhack. I
Mhm.
remember once you got over those kind of ledges, those little like ledges, then you might have seen a herd path.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
other than that, absolutely nothing. And this
Yeah.
was 2015, 2016. So I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah.
So informal trails, once again, is herd paths,
Mhm.
is what we see on, North Dome and Sherrill or going up Rusk. Rusk is a huge example because it's so short and so easy.
Mhm.
Lori, do you have anything to add to that about informal trails? Like,
Well, so the one thing that I would add to that is that they've also been called social trails. That's another new word. So sometimes people will think of them as a trail that is the path of least resistance that in fact a herd of animals might have used. But the one of the newer names for them is also social trails. And we talk about that because, the word spreads and people, more and more people are like, I can do this now. And it's become a little bit more commonplace to be out there on those trails now.
yeah. Um, so with all your hiking in the Catskills,
Mhm.
same with me. When did you start seeing the bigger impact happening?
I would say most of it's been in the last 10 years.
True. Yeah. And like it's like I mean COVID
Oh,
obviously.
2020. Yeah.
Oh God. I gotta admit, like I said, 2015, 2016 is when I started doing my bushwhacks. And
Hmm.
once you got to the top low, Cheryl North Dome didn't see anything until you got to the major areas of where like the impact would be happening, more the Balsam area. That's
Hmm.
where I see it more happening. Places like Hockett, you get up way to the top and that's where you see it happening. And there would only be a couple distinct ways. Friday and Balsam Cap, I gotta admit, was more of the prominent area of the herd paths because it's the easiest. And but like you said, the past 10 years, we're talking 2024 to 2014. Like I said, 2015 was when it started taking a little bit more of an impact. I think it's because social media.
Hmm.
Like, would you agree that social media has kind of like excelled this a little bit?
Yes, it's easier to get information.
Correct.
and to share information among people that way. When I was first doing them, I did use the 3500 Club, but even that, when I first started like leading hikes for the 3500 Club, I had to mail in my hike descriptions, and then hope that nobody else had taken that day. I mean, we didn't have any internet resources particularly to use. We had guidebooks, and we had the mail and the telephone to call someone. I could say, "Hey, Stosh, would you like to go next Saturday someplace?" And we'd have to hope that the trail was going to be broken. We wouldn't have that information, or we'd be prepared to break trail. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Unbelievable. And like when you were doing these back in then, not to criticize and put you on the spot really, but when you would do these back in the days, would you choose the path of least resistance, or would you choose the more kind of say easier way with switchbacks and stuff like that? Like it's tough.
Both.
Both, right?
I would do both. So, I remember talking about Balsam Cap and Friday. I remember Tom and I leading a hike one time, and we got off of the herd path that existed at the time. And it's really rugged country up there. And
Yeah.
when you've got a group of 10 people that are dependent on you for their safety, we stopped the group and we said, "Please wait right here." He went up the hill and I went down the hill until we located the herd path, because we knew we were very close to it. And so in that case, the path of least resistance seemed like the path we wanted to take. But I've had other times when I have climbed up Friday and I've looked at those ledges and said, "Yeah, let's give it a go," and had nothing to do with the herd path. So, kind of depends on how I'm feeling.
Exactly. And I think that that's what differentiates us between some of the other people who just want to cross it off the list.
Mhm.
And like you and I, like sometimes like, man, this is boring. Let's choose a path that is absolutely insane. Like today with Bramley, I was like,
Mhm.
nah, I don't want to go up thing. I just want to go right up the middle.
Mhm.
I seriously went smack dab up in the middle.
Mhm.
And it was just because it's a different experience.
Yes.
And that's the way I see it. But a lot of people are doing this because they want to get the patch, and they want to get, cross it off
Mhm.
their list, and I don't see that as a bad thing, but I do at the same time. But we can also say that this was just like at times in the Adirondacks, because the Adirondacks had once trailless peaks, correct?
Mhm.
Uh, can we compare this? I mean, it's a whole different rugged country in the Adirondacks. Can we compare these times of informal trails in the Catskills to what the Adirondacks used to have?
I think we should.
We should.
I absolutely believe that we should, because I think in order to make decisions going forward in the Catskills that are wise decisions, that we should look for comparative data to help us. And there must be comparative data to what the situation was in the Adirondacks at some point. And then once they decided what they were going to do with their informal trails, what that decision did, right? There should be information that they're state agencies, they should be able to share them with one another. And that should be part of the information gathering to make decisions in the Catskills, I would think.
Now you're familiar with the 40. Were you a 46er? Oh, did you travel on those informal trails before they were
Well, the
like
informal trails are still there. They're still listed as informal trails. They are not marked.
okay?
They don't have canisters on the top anymore. And I honestly never signed into a canister. My son did, but I never did.
In the Adirondacks or the Catskills?
In the Adirondacks.
Okay.
Yeah, I never actually signed into one. They before I really started peak bagging up there, they were gone. So I up there, there were plenty of times where I did my homework before I hiked, because I expected an informal trailless peak to look like our Catskills informal trailless peaks, which is to say there wasn't much of a trail or a herd path. So I was quite surprised when I didn't have to take out my compass and my map a whole lot in the Adirondacks. So I did get to hike on them without canisters, but they were pretty well-used herd paths by then.
So did they, in the Adirondacks, like the Catskills, was it the path of least resistance, or was it the actual smart path of where it was like less aggressive to the environment and stuff?
I believe that they are all just the path of least resistance.
Okay, at least they're somewhat of the similar same, because that's what that's the way it seems like in the Catskills. It just, everybody just goes the shortest amount of distance and then hits the peak and then comes down. It's crazy.
And they avoid the obstacles, though. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, those may be short, but they also avoid obstacles like those big ledges on Friday.
Yeah, of course, of course. Like with this going on, we have seen some scientific information. Can you say anything about the scientific information that it brought to us about that?
Well, I really haven't seen a lot of scientific information.
Hmm.
The first year of the study, I believe, was 2019. And a lot of the information that was utilized in that study was really old information that had been, like, it was 20 years old. When I say old, I mean it was 20 years old. So something that happened in the forest 20 years ago could have been subject to all kinds of changes by 2019. A lot of it was, I believe, and I give the author of the study credit, by the way, from the DEC. I don't think she had a lot of resources to
Not
put
at
this
all.
together. And I believe she only, in 2019, I believe she only had one trip into each peak.
Wow.
So she certainly didn't have any field time. So I think that was perhaps the first year that she started using Strava data. Because she wasn't that familiar with everything, there were some errors in that. Like, I remember that in the 2019 study, she had Eagle Mountain listed as something like a 1.5 mile bushwhack. She had started counting the mileage from the junction of the Pine Hill West Branch and the Sigurd Trail, as
Yeah.
opposed to just from the Pine Hill West Branch Trail, that couple hundred yards or whatever it is. So there was not a lot of science. There was a little bit more speculation, I think, in that first year. And then in 2020, I don't know if they did anything in 2020 because of COVID. Since then, they've begun to start trying to add some scientific stuff, but I think they fall short of being really in depth with that. So, for example, hey, let's talk about the Bicknell's thrush. The Bicknell's thrush is, have you seen one of those in your lifetime, by the way?
Unfortunately, I have not. I
Yeah.
can't say I have not. I've seen little tiny birds up towards the top of the peaks fly
Yeah.
right next to me, and I know their sound. The Bicknell thrush and the thrush is one of those sounds you'll never forget. It's just, I say it's a xylophone going up and down, and it's just like it catches your ear.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know when was the first one that I heard or saw, but I've heard and seen them a great deal. Particularly Balsam Lake, by being up there stewarding so much. There's quite a population of them up there. So I've both seen and heard them up there. And it's kind of an emotional tug on a hiker's heartstrings to say, let's take care of this little bird. But in fact, they are finally, in this past year, they are actually doing some studies, and they worked with SUNY New Paltz, I believe it was, and they had 3 students that went up, and they went out and actually listened and set peaks, whatever peaks the DEC chose. I'm not sure what criteria they used to choose their peaks, but these students went out and they did one overnight in each peak, some of them in the pouring rain, to listen for a Bicknell's thrush. But I haven't seen the numbers yet. I haven't seen the data, but that's only a one-time thing. That's not a great deal of scientific information.
Correct.
Oops.
No, you're still here.
Oh, okay.
And I agree with that. You know, you can't do 1 year of information and then make an assumption on that.
Yeah, so I'd like to see more science about that.
Of course, definitely. And you know, let's get more of the experts from, you know, because they come from down south up to the north during the summer, correct?
Yes,
That's
they don't winter here.
yeah, and then they breed up here, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say there is this thing called the New York State Breeding Bird Atlas. And that New York State Breeding Bird Atlas, in the last issue of that, which was the second Breeding Bird Atlas, they actually, quoting from that, it says, the contribution of the Catskill High Peaks population to the well-being of the species is enormous. A sizable increase in distribution is evident in the second Atlas data. And it says threats to the Bicknell's thrush may be greater in its Caribbean winter grounds. So it talks about how in the first breeding bird atlas, they had 14 blocks in the Catskills and the second one, 17. So there's definitely an expansion of them according to this breeding bird atlas, but we need to continue with that. And they are actually currently working on the third atlas right now, but none of that was like quoted in the informal study. And so we take the information that the students this summer gathered, and we gather that again next year and the year after, and we begin to put science in this, and we can find out if the Bicknell's thrush is actually doing okay in the Catskills, expanding in the Catskills, or lessening in the Catskills, you know?
And it's not just the small bushwhacking regions that these Bicknell thrush are breeding. It's actually, you know, where the trails are, you know, up in Sugarloaf, Indian Head, anywhere there's balsams is where the Bicknell thrush thrives, correct?
Yeah, well, not just balsams. They do like to have a certain amount of balsams. So like their habitat would not be considered, say, the summit of Lye.
Yeah, Lye,
because
Hocket,
Lye has very scattered fir trees up there. But certainly we see a lot of Bicknell's thrush on Slide. I hear them up there all the time.
Nice.
Hunter.
And it's most popular, one of the most popular ones.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of hikers there. So and one of the things that they speculated about, but again, I haven't seen any science in their study yet, is fragmented forest because of multiple herd paths. But at the summit of Slide, we have multiple trails. At the summit of Hunter, we have multiple trails. At the summit of Balsam Lake, we have multiple trails. So I don't understand, and I haven't seen any data which tells me that in fact multiple herd paths and fragmented forest is creating a problem for the Bicknell's thrush.
Yeah, and that's a good way to say it, because you know, once you get to the top of let's say North Dome and Sherrill and stuff like that, there's, I would say, 4 different ways to get to the top. You know, you got north, east, southwest, just like any other peak, you know.
Yes.
And you have, like you said, you know, there can be areas where they can thrive, and they have been thriving. You know, a big area is probably Plateau. Plateau is,
that's another good one.
yeah, a very big area, expansive area of balsams, of dark areas where they like to go underneath. We're staying on the trails there, and you are absolutely correct. Once again, something that's mind-blowing, that, you know, having 1 year of study on is not enough, definitely nowhere near enough.
No.
And
no.
you know, what else can we talk about with the animals up there?
So I'm going to throw one more thing about the Bicknell's thrush up there, and that is, you know, who else lives in the habitat where that Bicknell's thrush is something that eats Bicknell's thrush, the bobcat.
Oh,
And so, we can't take the bobcat population out of the Bicknell thrush numbers either. We have to think about that, because they eat little birds. So we have to think about that. The forest in the Catskills is a very complicated place, and we can't just say sorry. We'll talk about one bird one time. We have to look at all the bigger picture. I like bobcats too. So
I mean, just imagine somebody spotting a bobcat, a Bicknell thrush and a bobcat,
yeah,
like crazy. What
yeah,
about what have you seen with the invasive plants and stuff like that? Have you seen any like
yes.
okay.
So so one of my favorite places in the Catskills is not on the top list for a lot of people, and that's Eagle Mountain. In the
Oh,
spring of the
yes.
year, in May, it is just the most incredible carpet of wildflowers. Except we're really beginning to see the invasive mile-a-minute vine choking out a lot of wildflowers in different pockets along that Pine Hill West Branch Trail. So we can't say that a particular plant has disappeared on an informal trail or on a marked trail just because of hikers' boots. It can be affected by an invasive species like that mile-a-minute vine. Another thing that has made a difference out there, we haven't seen all of the effects yet. An emerald ash borer.
Yeah.
Imagine as the ash trees die and fall in the forever wild forest, and then we have all these blackberry briars that come up, which are very aggressive, hardy plants. So some of those plants that we think may or no longer be doing well in the Catskills, particularly on an informal trail, along an informal trail, it could be because all of a sudden there's sunlight because we lost our ash trees.
Mm-hmm.
That sunshade forest is another big part when I talk about how the forest is so complicated and interconnected. Some of the plants that you see in the forest 20 years ago, maybe they're not there anymore because they've been shaded out because the forest is doing really well and we've got a big canopy. An example of that I see every year when I hike up to Balsam Lake. As a little girl, I remember loving turtle heads. Are you familiar with that flower, wildflower?
I am not.
It has a beautiful light pink blossom on it late in the season. Often grows in areas that are damp, and the head looks just like the head of a turtle on this flower. And as a little girl, I was fascinated by them. And so there was a large number of them along the trail to Balsam Lake, but the Balsam Lake Fire Tower Trail has not been maintained as a road since 1972 when they stopped utilizing the fire tower. So 50 years of side growth along that trail. We have some tall trees now, which are completely covering all the way across the trail. And they've shaded out the turtle head. So there's still turtle head there, but last year I only saw one blossom.
Oh, wow.
Because it's just getting shaded out. The plants are getting smaller and smaller every year because they're lacking sun. And that's just a sign of a maturing forest and a changing forest because the forest is maturing. So we got to think about that.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any references to those things in that informal trails study.
That's correct. I mean, I've never noticed that going up to, Balsam Lake as you being someone that has been there since the 1970s. You could throw in some of your local information. You can ask locals about this and then get your information, be like, listen, the forest does adapt. Of course it does. We known this in the past 10 years since,
Yeah.
I've hiked since 2015. I've seen different changes in 9 years compared to you when it's been, 40, 50
Longer.
years.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry to say it like that.
But no, but we can't discount the history of the forest. It's a part of the forest. One of the other things that this informal trail talks a lot about is the forest compaction, the soil compaction rather in the forest due to hikers' feet. But a lot of the soil compaction happened long before hikers' feet were there. So, for example, today going up Balsam Cap and Friday, I'm walking on an old log road. That's what the herd path is. And there were thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of logs that were drugged down these roads by modern day logging equipment, which is not tiny. A log skidder is very heavy, and they make multiple trips up and down this. And that soil was compacted long before it saw any hikers out there on that land. And so you've got to realize that recovery of that part of of an informal / social trail may never happen because it was compacted for logging purposes, not because it was a herd path to Balsam Cap and Friday. And you can't discount those things. Those things are happening out there and have happened out there. And that concerns me that there's nothing about any of that history in this informal trail study either.
Yeah. And that's a big impact is, of course, the Catskills being logged and, with the tanneries and the bluestone quarries and stuff like that, that made a big impact on different, same thing with the Adirondacks. We can compare that to the Adirondacks.
Yep.
Is these old informal trails in the Adirondacks were once logging trails. And, they were once so wide, and because now they're hiker paths, they are not so wide, but it's obvious. It's absolutely obvious. Just like going up Friday in Balsam Cap, you have that obvious wide path going up there.
Yeah.
And
Bear Pen, I believe, I made a note here. Bear Pen, for example, is listed as 2.2 miles of class 3 trail because the soil compaction is so great. But again, that's all logging in there.
oh yeah,
Those are all logging roads.
logging and snowmobiling.
Yes, there are also snowmobile trails.
They
Presumably
frickin-
those are done on top of snow,
Yeah, right.
but
There's also ATVs up there and everything like that. Even going,
yes, there is.
even going from the south, you can easily say that is destroyed by ATVs and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
once again, like you're right. Didn't see these studies in there. Bear Pen Mountain, that's an obvious place for different types of, as you can see towards the top, where it once used to be a freaking ski center, has now been overtaken by Mother Nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I cannot find any. I can't say I cannot find any. I know what I'm looking for, but I can find very little remnants of the ski trails. You have to be good at it to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things that really concerns me about this study as well, is just so it's 15 trails that are 15 informal trails that they're talking about out of 33 peaks, 15 mountains, which is like almost half of our Catskill Mountains, right? And things happen there all the time. And one of the things is, let's take, when you talk about how nature can heal itself as well, is look at the viewpoints. When I was first hiking, there were viewpoints all over, both on trailless peaks and on trailed peaks. And they were all marked on the trail conference maps with a star. The Catskill State Land Master Plan, when that was approved in 2008, they said that those viewpoints should be maintained. And those viewpoints have not been maintained. And there are places now where you would have no idea that there was ever a viewpoint. One of those happens to be on Balsam Lake Mountain. And you are fairly familiar with Balsam Lake Mountain. If you do not feel comfortable climbing the fire tower, do you have a view up there?
Nope.
No. Well, there was an opportunity for a view less than a quarter mile from the summit. Just as the trail out toward Alder Lake took off from the main Balsam Lake Trail. And nobody knows that viewpoint was there.
Wow.
It's completely closed in now. I always talk to our volunteers about that when I'm doing our steward training, because sometimes people will come up with an older map and they will say they would like to go to the viewpoint since they're not comfortable climbing the fire tower. Well, sorry guys, that viewpoint got closed in a long time ago. So yeah, the forest does change and it does heal itself. So we've got to be thoughtful about what the forest might take care of on its own without our help sometimes. Old lean-to sites. Do you know where the old lean-to was on Giant Ledge?
Wasn't it a little bit further towards the road, right? Towards the trail?
Nope.
No. See, yeah.
Giant Ledge, it would have been on the trail just past, on Giant Ledge, you turn coming from the 47, you have the spring to your left.
Yeah.
And just past there was where the Giant Ledge lean-to was, but there's no sign of that now.
Not at all.
No. Same with the one up on the summit of Plateau. So should we make really drastic changes? I don't know. And they are talking about some drastic changes. They're talking about the possibility of trail development on these informal peaks. But maybe we don't need to do that. And if we do develop the trails, who's going to maintain the trail? Who's going to pay for the development of the trails, and who's going to maintain the trails?
Boom. Who's going to develop the damn trails? Because, I mean, some of these are a pain in the ass. You got to admit, like examples of Rusk and Hockett. That just goes straight up some drainages crap, and it's just eroding like crazy. It's horrible. So you're going to have to convert so much. You're going to have to do switchbacks. How long, to be honest, let me ask you this question. How long did it take to build that great trail that goes from Barnum Road to Thomas Cole? Do you remember that?
No. No.
Yeah, that I got to admit, that's a fantastic trail. But I couldn't even imagine how long that had to take.
Yeah. I mean, new trail development takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. And honestly, if you think about the environmental impact that would be created, because as you say, in order to put a sustainable trail up steep terrain like Hockett, your trail is not going to be a short trail. Your trail is going to be a long trail, and it's going to go back and forth across the side of that mountain. And it's going to have quite an environmental impact.
Yeah.
And it may be a lot greater than the current herd path that is there because of that.
Correct. Because that whole area of Hockett is just a one big drainage.
Oh, yeah.
It's one big sheet of shale, basically, that's just crumbling. Anybody knows that if they've ever bushwhacked off of the main herd path, it's just know that it's an absolute mess. It's trying to build a trail on there is going to be, it's just one big bowl, just like Rusk in that area.
The same thing. Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize this, is that just these trails might have to they're just going to have to suck it up. And like, we can compare this to a time when my friend Matt Smith was doing the drainage stuff on Slide. And he said that those water bars have not been cleared out for 20 years.
Yeah. That was when I heard that. I first heard that in a report at the CPAC meeting, the last CPAC meeting we had. The trail conference said that they had cleared 20 water bars that hadn't been cleared in 20 years on Slide Mountain. Now, that's one of the most popular trails in the Catskills. And we don't have a maintainer that is out there maintaining that trail for 20 years. That's sad. And and certainly it's very true that those drainages had not been cleared, and the amount of erosion on that trail is great. So while it seems like a really wonderful thing that it got done, why did it end up in that state in the first place? So do we want to go out? And I don't want to diss anybody who is a maintainer out there. I don't know the situation, but you know, does the maintainer have the training? Do they know how to take care of drainages and when they should take care of them? And do they have the support to help them if they need help with that? Do they have the right tools to do that? I don't know. But if we're going to go and we're going to build trails on 15 peaks that are trailless peaks now, and then they're just not going to be taken care of, why?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, it's a big question. It's of course, like we've had so many, once again, social media has blossomed with us with volunteers in the past, you know, 3 to 4 years. And, you know, we have the Catskill Trail crew, we have, you know, the stewards, trailhead stewards, but creating not even 15 new trails, but
Yeah.
very beyond that, would absolutely be hazardous to the Catskills. So with this being said, how do you see what the way the Adirondacks did this with what we should do with here in the Catskills? So just let it go, like very, very, how do I say it? Very leisurely maintaining those herd paths, basically.
Yeah, well, the in the Adirondacks, the herd paths are maintained under an agreement with the Adirondack 46ers, and there are certain criteria that they have to follow to go out and maintain the trails. And you know, most people would think of the word as perhaps lightly maintained. There is a criteria to take care of blowdown on the trails so that you keep people on the informal trails instead of going around blowdowns. But the trails are not marked, and they are not manicured, if you will, as much as a marked trail are. So could that be a possible stage for the trailless peaks in the Catskills? Maybe. It doesn't sound like it. Like I said, it says that they keep talking about forest preserve trail development. So I don't know if they're planning on doing that or not. But I hope they just take some time and gather a lot of science to help guide their decision making on it. That what they've done in the Adirondacks may or may not work here in the Catskills, and they need to study that and they need to look at that so that they can decide what is better. I mean, is it, like I said, if we take the Hawkett again as an example, we have a herd path that is a mile up. If we have to put in a sustainable trail with no place a greater slope than 9%, we might end up with a 3-mile trail on there. So now we've got that decision, and there should be some science that guides that decision of lightly maintaining the current trail that it's there or putting in this much longer sustainable trail. And is it sustainable?
Yeah.
We were talking at the beginning about the rock steps out at Catskill Falls. Is sustainable trail development, does it really work in the Catskills? Are we using it on our trailed peaks? And if we are, how well is it working?
Yeah. How long is it maintaining?
Yeah.
Like that's a question. Slide 20 years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, Catskill Falls is a whole different story, but you got to admit, you can compare Catskill Falls to Slide because Slide is second, third most popular of the Catskills.
Yeah. Yeah. I can think of one place on a high peak with sustainable trail, just a small section on Sugarloaf, on the western side of Sugarloaf. They put those rock steps in.
Yep.
And that's part of what they do with sustainable trail building, is they build these rock steps. But if you went there right now, I bet you those rock steps are buried in, it's an ice chute.
Yeah,
So the sustainable
absolutely.
trail might work okay 3 seasons of the year, but not in a 4th season. And if it's too icy, where are hikers going to go? Around it, creating a much wider trail.
Yep.
So I don't know what the answers are, but I hope that something like that is really carefully looked at.
Yeah. And I agree. And once again, you say there's, ice chutes that created in the winter, and this ice chute would be created because the water takes the path of the rocks.
Yes.
So then that will create the ice chute, and people will be like, you know what? I don't really want to take my chances on that. Let me go up the way that doesn't have any ice on it, that might have a little bit of dirt and snow.
Yeah.
There's your herd path. And
Yeah.
this is what happens. And I, like you said, there are no answers. I mean, in the Adirondacks, it seems to be working okay? Like, did they take the path of least resistance up to these mountains?
Well, I don't think they changed when they decided to remove the canisters. I don't believe they changed the herd path routes at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, how long has that been going on for?
Geez, I'm not sure what year. I don't remember what year that was changed. Sorry. I don't
It's been
know.
over 10 years though, but
Oh, yes. Yes.
yeah, so there you go. Have they built paths or have they built trails up there in over 10 years?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No.
So are they going to try it here? Once again, it's a lot of money. The
Mm-hmm.
volunteering would be absolutely insane because we're already at a huge shortage of it. I'm preaching that every freaking episode, telling people to volunteer, and it's tough. And as we all know, if most of these people who listen to this podcast has traveled up, Rusk in the summer or Hockett, I can always use these things, but you can go, let's say, Table to Lone is a great herd path because you know what? It goes over that ridge, beautiful right up there, but it's also got an amazing, insane amount of erosion going from Table into the call of Lone and Table.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen with that? I could say though that there are awesome herd paths, going up, somewhat awesome herd paths going up to Balsam Cap, going up to Friday is okay, but once again, that's going to have to be redirected. And then you have, going up to, from Lone to Rocky is absolute one crazy cluster, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And so maybe there's another answer there, and maybe the answer in some cases is that you might just mark one of them.
Correct.
You might leave it as it is and not actually make any changes to the trail, but you might mark the one you want people to use.
Yeah.
So there's things that can happen. It doesn't have to be all one way or all another. And if they spend the next 5 years gathering data and science to make a decision, then they can take that to people and ask for the resources to make those decisions happen.
What did you think about the informal trail survey?
The survey? Oh gosh.
Yeah, I forgot. We forgot to talk about that. Let's make that our last discussion.
Oh gosh. Okay. I do have to see if I can find that there. And the reason I want to find that, that is the informal trail survey that the trail conference is doing as part of the VUM. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that, yeah, let me see if I can find that. It's like they asked the question and it already has an answer to it. Oh, here it is.
Right.
Okay. So question number 1, prior to this survey, were you aware that the peaks with informal trails are home to vulnerable plant communities that are being negatively impacted by recreational use on these peaks? Well, nobody's provided us with any science that tells me that there is a vulnerable plant community that is being negatively impacted, but that's what the question tells me. right? And then there was another one that said, prior to the survey, were you aware that the peaks with informal trails provide critical nesting habitat for several species of ground nesting threatened or vulnerable bird species that are being negatively impacted? Again, they've sent people out there in the woods just one time, one night.
One night.
And the Breeding Bird Atlas tells us they're doing okay and their population is growing. So how does this question help with gathering any scientific data when it's just giving you some random suggestion?
Mhm.
I was very surprised by that.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, I see that they're reaching out to the public in this way, but there are so many other ways to reach out to the public. Like you said, the Bird Atlas. Like,
Yeah.
why not reach out to them and see, like, hey, you know, there's some information of how many. I can't say thousands of people, but I gotta admit, when I volunteered at Slide, a lot of people, probably 50% of the people, wanted to go up there to find the Bicknell struth. I would have
Yep.
to say at least 50%.
Yep.
And I was just like, I was blown away. I was just like, oh, really? You're not going up there to cross it off their list or because it's the highest peak? No, I want to spot the Bicknell thrush. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, it must be doing well.
You know, I hope they get the students involved again. And I hope they'll do that for several successive years. But one of the things that they could do that I think would make that much stronger is that they could match them up with like somebody from the Breeding Bird Atlas who has some history with gathering data on birds in the field, and maybe with a 3,500 person who is a backpacker, so that maybe they could go up in the woods for 2 or 3 days, give them a real support system to help them gather their data. It just seems like, these poor kids, gosh, they had so much enthusiasm. I love talking to them. And, they got put out in the woods on their first ever camping trip off the summit of Slide in the pouring rain to listen for this bird one night. I can imagine the weight of all of their gear.
Right.
They came back out of there that next day, but let's keep using good science as we try to make some decisions here.
Correct. Yeah. And that's, I agree with you. I was opened up to this information that somebody provided to me, and it was absolutely phenomenal information. And once again, we need more studies. We need more boots on the ground,
Yes.
let's say, and we need more, help from local public that would love to engage in this, because it's a big topic that we have in the Catskills. It was probably a big topic in the Adirondacks as well. So it's moved down to here now. So
Yeah.
what can we say? So is there anything we can do, Laurie, besides pushing
Yes.
information?
Yes, I think there's many things that we could do. One of them is think about some of those things that we were talking about, and just when you're out there in the field, open your eyes and look for yourself and think about some of these things. Another thing that we can do is that we certainly can spend more volunteer hours out there. And there are volunteer programs like the trailhead stewards and the trail crews that we can do, but there's all other kinds of ways that we can support. Like maybe some people can't get out in the woods anymore. Maybe they could support something financially. I've also always said, like, maybe somebody who can't get out in the woods, well, they can do an adopt a highway. Or maybe they could bring some cookies to the trailhead steward or the trail crew someday, support those people, because every one of those is out there taking care of our forest. And the more people we have doing that, I think the more people that are involved and the more people that care, the better off the forest is all the time. And it's fun. It really is. I absolutely love my days when I am out in the woods in a volunteer role. It's just so satisfying to, cut those blowdowns out of the trail and walk back down that trail after you've gone through and you've cleaned out your water bars and you walk back down and you're like, oh yeah, this is nice. Somebody's going to enjoy this.
Right.
And by taking care of the trail, there's no obstacles in the way. People don't go around it and make it wider. It's just really rewarding to be out there. So I'd strongly encourage people to just kind of open their eyes, think a little bit differently when they're out there, and also to take just one hike a year, cancel it, and go volunteer.
Right. Exactly. 8 hours.
Yeah,
Go out and
just
volunteer.
Just
one
one
day. So awesome word of advice from Laurie Rankin. From Laurie. Let's just say awesome word of advice from Laurie that we should all do. And I suggest that I say that every time. So Laurie, thank you for joining me tonight. So
Thank
one
you.
thing, I know you always do great with this. Post-hike brews and bites. What do you have to suggest?
Oh gosh, it depends on where you are, but I got to tell you, we took my grandson into it's called Last Chance, I think it is, cheese.
Oh, nice. In Tannersville?
Tannersville. Oh my gosh, he went home and he told his parents all about how he had a grilled cheese sandwich with cheese from Germany, and and he had this great big root beer float. And at the same time, the adults, i.e. grandma and grandpa, we had a really good beer there and some nice clam chowder. It's a great stop.
I gotta admit, I agree. We stopped there. I forgot when we stopped there. I think it was after my 100th episode, but yeah, awesome
Yeah.
spot. So definitely we'll tag them in
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
awesome. So thank you to the monthly supporters and monthly sponsors. Really appreciate you guys supporting the show. I really appreciate anybody who is still listening to the show. 111 episodes. It's been a great time. 4 of those episodes have been here with Laurie, and I've enjoyed them so much. I'm welcoming her back onto the show as many times as I can. So thank you for joining me tonight, Laurie. I really appreciate it. And thank you for talking about informal trails. I've been waiting for this discussion for a very long time, and it was satisfactory.
Great. Thank you, Stash.
All right. So have a good night. I will hopefully catch you soon.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, wicked, wicked.